Well, here we are, weekly astrology check-in. I'm El Natale. Lindsay is my name. If you're wondering, I never really say that, so maybe I should say it now. This is the first episode of what I'm calling a weekly check-in. I don't know, maybe it'll have a cooler name at some point, I'm not sure. If you have an idea for that, let me know. The weekly check-in is going to have different stuff. It's a grab bag, basically, of different ideas and thoughts and a few things that will be consistent that I'll share each time, hopefully. So I'm going ahead without a lot of preparation on this because I want it to be a little bit more spontaneous. I want it to be a little less formatted. This is hopefully a way that I can have some accountability to you to meet up, but not have so much pressure on us. So anyway, in this episode, we're going to be talking about a few things. The first one is how astrology is a code and how it's running behind everything. So you can apply that concept to the weekly astrology you might be listening somewhere else to give you an idea. The second thing, we're going to talk about our dreams, mandalas, and your astrology chart. So that's something else on my mind. And then after that, I have an announcement to make that I'm pretty excited about and a few other little goodies. Like I said, it's like a grab bag. So you're gonna have to forgive if the dog barks too, because I can't stop her. She's a barkaholic, I swear. So this is one of the most important things to know about astrology. Astrology is a code that's running beneath everything. Any event, any moment, any experience, not just your birth or someone else, anybody's birth, it's every single thing. There's a code that's constantly being written, okay? And it's processing all these little symbols that you see if you look at a birth chart. They're all representative of something that's way more than the squiggle that they look like, kind of like wingdings, is that what it is? Basically, universal truth within that one little squiggle. If you think about those little symbolic things, it reminds me of a computer, a massive computer. And anything that we can do in a computer can be simplified into binary code. So zeros and ones, 00001, and 000. You know, Flight of the Conchords, there's like a sense of...
It is the distant future, the year 2000.
We are robots.
They do a robot rap. It's like the binary code rap.
Binary solo.
0000001 0000001 0000011
Back to the coding. Okay, so if we looked at binary code or any kind of computer code, for the most part, the majority of us would have no clue what that meant. So astrology is sort of like that, but we can understand it more because it has story attached to it, has archetypes attached to it. There's way more history that we can bring in and our own personal history so we can help understand it. Okay, so computers have the two numbers, the zeros and the ones, and astrology has more, okay? So basically there's 10 planets if you include the sun and the moon, but my guess, between you and me, over time they're gonna discover up to 2 more planets, right? So we'll have 12, that's my guess. And those are the planets that are keeping time. Then we have the astrological signs, and that is 12 as well, and then 12 houses. So basically we have 36 units of meaning that can be mixed and matched. Those are the base pieces, and then within those base pieces, you have geometrical aspects. The geometry is the line of sight. So you have, oh man, you can get into sesquisomethings. I don't even know. The degrees that they go into is wild. The main ones to know about are the opposition, the trine, the sextile, the square, and the conjunction. Those are the main ones. Consider if we take those base pieces and you put them into an infinite, like zeros and ones can make an infinite computer reality. Say 36 things could make actual reality. Comparing that to computer language is exponential potential. So that's why there's such a huge variety of experiences happening at once, even within a single transit. For example, if you hear that there's maybe a Mars square Pluto, that's kind of a scary, quote unquote, scary one. And that's a mundane astrology aspect, which means it's happening to everybody. So it's kind of like everybody watches a movie, like last summer or whenever that was. It was Oppenheimer and Barbie, whatever, or a TV show that everybody watched. Everybody gets it. But what happens in our code is that there's a vast potential for a reaction each of us gets. For some of us, it won't matter at all. It'll just be a nothing because it's not relating to something personal. Now, for some people, Mars square Pluto is going to be phenomenal. It's going to be a small amount of people though. Okay. A very few people will probably have like the best day of their life on a Mars square Pluto day. And some people will have the worst potential, right? There's always a counterbalance. Now, I think about the bell curve all the time. Astrology and bell curves really always come together for me, because if you have an idea that everything is prismatic, every single experience must exist for the prism to complete, for the sphere to be completed. It has to. It has to be somebody that has a great day. I mean, like amazingly great, like wins the lottery day, and somebody that has a terrible day. But if you think about it, the people that win the lottery day, there's repercussions. A lot of the people that win the lottery that go on to be depressed and lose all the money and not happy at all. And somebody that maybe had a horrible accident and lost their legs or something, it turns out that they realize all these things about their lives and they grow from it, and it's incredible. The point is that we can't just mark something as good or bad, because it's just so much more vast than that. The bell curve is always creating balance and counterbalance. And if you pull it all together, you get a sphere of potentiality. Now, most of us will be in the center of the bell most of the time, because that's just how life is. But growing in our strength, in our wisdom, in our expression, in our grace is one of those main goals of human life, and making meaning out of it and meaningful connections. How do you do that? Well, looking at astrology is helpful, and it's more looking back than looking forward. So knowing that there's these squares or whatever, and I have another video planned for you to talk, that I'm talking about squares, is opening up the mind about what it even means. It's so much more than a bad aspect. Our reality is personal. It's subjective. It's not absolute truth, because there's a variation of meaning going on in that vast prism of experience constantly. And it's playing out under the surface all the time. And I feel like it's like the code of reality that is breathing, or it's like a heart beating, or digesting, or it's just stuff that's involuntary. It's automatically happening. It's autonomous. It's happening all the time though. And every single experience must be had at all times to make up the whole. Hope that makes sense. If you're computer scientists and you have something to say about binary code, and maybe I'm completely off on that, but...
Yeah, mobile phone camera. I think it's mostly a phone.
It's not what they'd use on a music video, though.
Yeah, well, it's what we're using, isn't it? I mean, it's all I've got. It's taking good footage.
And that's just my thought, that I thought it was kind of an interesting correlation to think about 36 things, units, and that's how it makes up reality. And it's all reacting to a very unique chart. Each chart isn't repeated for 26,000 years. So that's how individuals have completely different experiences with the same aspect or the same transit. Next up on our little grab bag of things to talk about are dreams, mandalas, and the moon. Okay, so lately I've been starting to track when I have more vivid dreams, and I noticed I had one the other day, well, maybe a week ago now, that was so plutonic in nature. And lo and behold, I looked at the chart, and for that day, it was a Moon-Pluto conjunction, and it's getting close to my natal moon. The moon changes signs quite rapidly because it has to reach every single sign in 1 month. So the moon is a good way to track your mundane reality, like your day-to-day reality. So I just encourage you to kind of look at that and see, maybe track it if you're interested in dream tracking, to see if there is any correlation to your natal moon return and your dream life. I've also been making mandalas. Mandalas, I'm inspired by Jung, and I have another whole video that I'm going to be talking more about mandalas in, so I won't go that far into it, but dreams and mandalas are related to each other. Dreams are something that are subconscious, that happen, that you don't really have control over. And mandala making, it is a little bit more controlled, but honestly, if you let yourself go into making the mandala, then it absolutely is a subconscious expression. It's basically a waking dream. And when you look back to analyze it or look at it or contemplate it, it can open up new pathways in your mind that you might not have experienced before or understood. Where's that coming from? What is this? And your natal chart is also a mandala. It's a personal mandala. So once you start talking about mandalas, making mandalas, thinking about mandalas, at least that's how I am. I see them everywhere. A little bit later, you're going to see my mom and I went to Disneyland last week, and everywhere I look, I'm like, oh, there's a mandala design. Oh, look at that spinning thing. That looks like a mandala. It's human mandala. Anyway, what's the point of dreams, mandalas, and the chart coming together? It's a sweet spot of understanding yourself. It's like three levels, 3 layers. And it's not in comparison to anyone else. That's the important part. Because like I said, 26,000 years, the chart doesn't repeat. It's unique. It's beautifully unique. You are unique. I gotta wait for my dogs to stop howling. Told you, she's a barkaholic, and her brother is a howlaholic. He loves to howl. They both love to howl, actually. Okay, that's over. So knowing your code, knowing your mandalas, knowing your dreams, and contemplating all of that, and it can turn into a meditative practice that's very personal, and accepting who you are fully is not always pretty. It's not always comfortable. Dreams can be freaking weird. Mandalas can come out and be like, whoa, what is that? And the chart, man, you know, sometimes our charts are full of things that suck and are hard, but seeing them as symbolic opens it to more than our judgment. The judgment is where the issue is, because lessening our judgment upon ourselves, lessening our judgment upon our dreams, on our subconscious expressions, and even on our makeup of our chart of who we are, and understanding that they're all just archetypes that are playing around and creating this huge, vast, prismatic experience of life and human living, then we can start to accept ourselves as we are and see even those challenging things are actually quite beautiful. It is a little bit counterintuitive in a way that the further we go into accepting ourselves with total self-awareness and understanding that, yeah, there's parts that, you know, maybe we don't like or whatever, you start to release yourself from those bonds. That's what's a miracle. It's the miracle of it. And suddenly there's more openings to becoming the best version of your beautiful, unique self as you are, to raise up to the highest vibration of what you can be within that mandala of who you are. In your chart tells a lot about what that can be. So within that fate of whatever we are, whatever we actually are, right? There's free will. We have the brightest light choices that we can make, and we have the darkest dark choices that we can make. It's all inside. And it's always available. It's always an option. But we have Saturn and Mars. Saturn is discipline. Mars is courage and strength. And both of them, even though they're malefics, can lead us to a bright side. It can lead us to a brighter version. And sometimes giving too much into the pleasure island planets of Venus and Jupiter, those can be addictions. They can bring out the worst in us, and desiring, you know, like a lot of the benefic stuff is the basis of the seven deadly sins, really, if you think about it. And it can create imbalance. So the point is that you start seeing things when you look deeper and deeper into astrology, that there's cognitive dissonance everywhere. And that's the point when you go like, I'm getting it. When things don't make sense at all, and there's two things that oppose each other, that's when you're closest to truth. That's what I've found. There's no such thing as good or bad, in absolute no way. Everything's in a flow of potentiality within the duality, and everything has an opposite, equal expression, reaction, or variant. Yeah. I have an update on my project I've been working on. I have a poetry passion that I really enjoy, and I've shared that before with you. And it has not a lot to do necessarily with astrology, but the point of my sharing that with you is to show you that you can do something that's your passion as well. It doesn't matter what anybody thinks or says or does. You have the power, you're empowered to do the thing you want to do. One of the things I want to do is write poetry. This is just a proof. So there it is. It's called On the Trail of Love, and it's very exciting for me to have this be the topic, because it's opened my eyes to a broader version of that as well. It's incredible. I don't want to get emotional. I've learned a lot about empowerment, and it's empowering to express yourself fully, authentically. And there's stakes. Oh my gosh. Are there stakes or what? Like, whoa, juicy big ones on the barbecue, man. There's such big stakes with expressing your authentic self and putting it out into the world. The stakes are kind of high because you can get judged. There's a lot of judgment involved, especially with an artistic project. But what's happened over the time that I've been doing YouTube and writing books, I've got 2 books now. This will be my second one. The first one was, oh man, like an open wound at first, right? I was just like, okay, here we go. You can look inside under my skin if you want. And I was still a little bit iffy on how I was going to react to it, but it did make me stronger. Then I get to this one and it's like pulling back all the layers, right? It's very personal. And I'm learning so much about the power that awaits us when we remove the fear of judgment and we just do our best. This is grace for ourselves, and it's a blessing to other people to express ourselves. Your voice, your contribution, your unique experience, your expression is a gift to the world. And it doesn't mean everybody's gonna like it. That's what I've learned. It's quantifiable on YouTube, especially if somebody likes what you're doing or not. I mean, there's no hiding. You know when people come to your channel, you know when they leave your channel, you know how long they're on your channel, on your videos, all that. It is what it is. Even if you put your heart, your blood, your soul, your tears, whatever, into something, it just doesn't mean that everybody's gonna like it. And some people might even despise it. It's not your problem though, because that thing just isn't for them. And that's okay, because there's counterbalance. Isn't it a miracle to think that way? That for every person that doesn't like it, there's going to be somebody that does. It just kind of blows my mind, to be honest, that I'm not only writing poetry, but I'm sharing it with people. Anyway, I hope that's encouraging to you to go for your passion, to put the time and the effort in, and really be confident that it's okay. And it's okay if people don't jive with what you've got, because there are going to be people that do, and they'll find you. This is a portion of our chat where I thought I'd tell you the new books that have come into my week. One of them is called The Little Book of Coincidence in the Solar System by John Martineau. It is very little, as he says, and basically what it has is showing the different patterns that planets make. Like this is Jupiter's giant seal. Probably my favorite thing about this book is at the very end, because it shows the dance of the planets. This author likes to call them kissing when they make a conjunction, which is kind of sweet, romantic. But each planet, in coordination with another one, makes up a spirograph. Spirograph? Remember the toy where you used to put a pencil and you'd spin it around and it'd make a design? It looks like that. I don't know. Ceres and Jupiter make a really cool looking one. They all also are reminiscent of mandalas, really. And the other one I'm reading is through the library, and it's the Tom Selleck memoir or autobiography. And just because it's got a great mustache, I don't know. I think it's fun to read stories about people. I love when they tell their story, and I like to look up their astrology to see how it matches. So it's kind of one of those side joys of being an astrologer. A brand new song by Ray LaMontagne. It came out last week on the new moon in Gemini. This is so subjective, right? So if you're not into this song, that's totally fine. But it's called Step Into Your Power. And it's all about being unique and that you're born with everything that you already need. Gosh, I love Ray LaMontagne. And you already have it all inside of you. All you need to do is step into your power and claim it. It was just so perfect. So I wanted to share that with you this week.
God only made one like you. So come on, baby, and just do what you were born to do.
This is my super grab bag moment. I thought it would be cool, instead of always looking forward into astrology, to look back. So what I've done is created a little capture of specialness. So it's the celebration of specialness. That's a very deep cut reference, if you know that one. It's moments in our life that are something that maybe would be sort of mundane or not that relevant to someone else, but it's special to you. So this last week, I started capturing little beautiful moments in my life on short video, very short video, and not so long that it takes away from the moment, but long enough to help me focus in on the feeling of specialness, that there's special things happening in my life all the time, and putting them together in a little mosaic reminder for myself, or a celebration of that specialness. And I wanted to share a little bit of what happened in my life last week with you. Maybe that's something you would like to do in this next week coming up. Take a little moments of your life when it feels good and put it together, and so we can remind ourselves at the end that life is beautiful. Every moment is beautiful. Even the mundane ones are sweet and lovely. Thank you so much for being here with me and experiencing this moment together, our little chat. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you found something interesting, and I would love to hear your thoughts if you want to share them with me. I like you just the way you are. Have a wonderful week. Until next time.